I feel like what is quite ironic is that I was going to make a video about not overworking yourself and trying to do too much. And I tried to do it in a 45-minute break on a training course that I'm doing, whilst also trying to make lunch. And by make lunch, I don't mean like just put something on a sandwich. I mean cook a whole pasta sauce and then have a shower all at the same time. And what ended up happening was that I showered and I was cleaned, but my food was almost burning and I was 15 minutes late, like after the break time for my course. And so it goes to the point that I'm trying to make in this video. Sometimes soft life is really just taking a moment and trying not to do too much in your day-to-day life. Sometimes, as much as there's so much information out there nowadays around like being productive, which I've been really getting into, Mel Robbins, Emma Grady, Diary of a CEO, and it's like productivity, read your book, invest your money, have a side hustle, do this and do that. And it's just like the reality of the situation is that we only have 24 hours in a day. And I know that Beyonce only has 24 hours in a day, but Beyonce and I don't have the same amount of help. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm also not Beyonce, okay? I have seen Beyonce live twice. And I can tell you, there are not many people that are like Beyonce. And that is just a matter of fact. It's right? But I feel like sometimes I'm telling myself, like nowadays, like one of the things that I've just been going through is like, I'm trying to almost like go through like the whole productivity line of like, oh, you need to, I was trying to wake up at 5 a.m, which I'm still trying to do. Pray for me. I have been feeling woefully because I'm not a morning person, but I've been trying to wake up at 5 a.m. every day to try and get in 3 hours of work in the morning before I start my day job because of how much I was struggling to cope. So for context, I have a side hustle. I keep calling it a side hustle, but it's not really a side hustle. I have a business. I have people who work for or do work for my business that I have to pay. People pay me money. They pay me sometimes big bucks to, obviously for the service that I provide them, which is obviously accommodations. I really want to get into that and talk about that later on this channel. If you're interested, please make sure to subscribe, like, follow, share, all of that stuff. And I will eventually get to it when I get through my long list of things. But the reality of the situation I was trying to say is that I have a lot of things going on in my life. And as much as like I recognize that, sometimes I feel a little bit, you know how there's some of those people who try to make, oh, I've got so much going on. They try and make it like their personality, like I'm just really busy. And I hate being that person because I've also seen in my own life how people who I know personally would try and like make excuses for why they haven't reached out to me or why we haven't been in like as good communication because like, oh, I don't want to disturb you. And Nigerians do that a lot. Like, I didn't want to bother you. It's like, okay. So almost like even more so, I don't want to make it a thing. I try not to really talk about work because I never want to prioritize work over my friendships, my family, all that stuff. Like, it has never been my vibe. Like, even relationships, which, maybe I should have prioritized work over some relationships, but that's a different story. But the end goal of this is that I tried, the point I'm trying to make, let me say, is that because I have tried to make sure that my work identity doesn't really become a personality, I have ended up just neglecting the fact that I just genuinely really do have a lot on my plate. And I didn't really know how to ask for help. And so there I was like trying to do all these things, waking up early, trying to like literally after work, hustling, doing all these different things. It was like, no matter how many productivity tools that you try and use, no matter how much you try and like, 2 hours, 3 hours, like you will literally just end up burning out because the reality is that if you have too much on your plate, you have too much on your plate. This is my Vaseline. There is only so much amount of products that can enter inside this Vaseline. And I can make it liquid, I can apply pressure, I can do whatever I want to do. This is the volume. that I have, and this volume capacity of this Vaseline is the volume capacity of this Vaseline. And I think sometimes like we forget that, like somebody like me, I have seen myself really apply pressure, and I know what I can do under pressure, right? So I remember I would say there was a time when my 20s, I want to say 25th birthday, yeah, 25th birthday, I think it was. I had a birthday party. I was on a rooftop. I was like finalizing, I had just finalized or was finalizing my master's thesis dissertation. I was also like actively setting up my first Airbnb site, which is like running the business and everything, like getting the business off operations. And I had a full-time job. Talk about living on the edge, right? But I always reference that point, and I'm always like, oh, like I know what I can do when I'm like, you know, super productive, and when I'm like, you know, working to my, but it's like the reality is I was stressed out and I was working. Yes, I could manage to do that amount of crazy stuff in a space of a week, but the reality is that that shouldn't be a baseline. That's not a steady state that I should be operating at. So I ended up like, I always look up to that, oh, I'm like, you know, this is what I can do when I really push myself. But it's like having to push myself, operating from a point where I'm constantly pushing myself all the time is not necessarily a good thing. So what am I doing about it? For the first time, I'm actually going to pay somebody to help my life, because I was just really, really struggling. My business is really, really small. But I'm going to really talk about maybe in another case, like the whole thing of like trying to penny pinch with your business, like sometimes just doesn't really work. Sometimes you really need to understand where you need to make strategic decisions, right? And like spend money because there's value that you need to get out of it, which is something that I'm learning. Because the money that I was trying to penny pinch and say, because I'm like, oh, I'm not going to pay £100 here, I'm not going to pay 200 there. Multiply that out by 12 months, I'm having to pay like these amounts of money to the tax man. So it's like, why not have a sustainable business operations that doesn't rely on me stressing myself like 24/7 because I'm trying to save money. So I say all this to say that there's no amount of money that you spend on fixing your lashes, getting your hair done, doing your nails, going on holiday, that is going to replace the fact that you are working yourself to the ground, and like eventually at some point you're going to get to a breaking point. I know that lots of people like to do spa days and like all these different things, buying a designer bag. Like if you are doing all of those things but you're not allowing yourself to operate from a place of rest, you're not allowing yourself to operate from a place of like just like calm and like being relaxed, and like you're on edge all the time because you have too much on your plate, I'm so sorry. Like the designer bags, the spa days, the luxury life, or whatever, like I feel like is being painted as like the epitome of soft life, is not going to work for you, because you might, whatever you gain in designer bags, you're going to lose in your mind. So yeah, I've gotten a virtual assistant. I have like literally implemented, like I got a software system, and I'm just going to be transparent as well and just say it's really small money, but it's also big money at the same time. Money is very interesting because it's all very relative. But I'm going to be transparent to say it's going to cost me £200 in my business every month, which I felt like I couldn't really afford to let go. Like when I multiply that by a year, I'm just like, okay, that's like a bottom line. It's like I'm just doing all these calculations in my mind. But the reality is I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, if that is what it is going to cost, that is what it's going to cost. And if the business relies on me losing my mind, losing my peace of mind, like not being able to have a balanced life, to be able to run, then that is not a business that I want to be a part of. So quite simply, I'm going to like implement all of that, see how the next month, maybe 2 months, like 2 to 3 months goes. And if it doesn't work out, then I'm just like, okay, either the business is not sustainable in itself because a small amount of margin is offsetting it that much, which I know isn't going to be the case. But then it's like, I'm just going to have to put that into like the profit of the business and just say that this is now the new benchmark. It's like, this is how much money we now need to make because the costs have gone up, okay? Because I'm not going to be paying with my mind, okay? But I just wanted to share that. I just wanted to remember this moment because for me, there's a lot that I could say, and I probably would share another time about like my money mindset and some of the things that I'm learning. But this is like a key foundational point, is like sometimes soft life means asking for help. Sometimes soft life means like literally opening your mouth to, one, I want to say tell people, but I find that people aren't very reliable when it comes to, I don't want to say reliable, but like sometimes like people aren't always the people who can, they're not always the ones who can give you sustainable help. So yes, it's people always say, oh, you know, let me know if you need anything, you know, learn how to ask for help and all of that stuff. But I find that in my business, for example, I wouldn't be able to tell my friends, okay, every Monday help me put this information online, I'll forward this on to you and like sort this out, or this is my password to this login, or like help me chase this payment every, like, do you get what I mean? There's so many little different tasks that I'm constantly having to work around that I cannot sustainably like pass that on to somebody who is a friend simply because they're like, just like, oh, if you need help. It needs to be sustainable. I need somebody who can take accountability for certain things and just hold those certain things rather than constantly relying on me to give them, like, to drip feed them tasks, if that makes sense. So yeah, for some people it might be getting a cleaner, it might be like getting a cleaner, as I said, it might be getting a housekeeper. It might be getting someone to do your garden instead of trying to do it yourself. It might be getting someone to do your laundry. I started using the laundry, going to drop my clothes in laundry because ironing 2-3 hours my work trousers just wasn't really working for me. It might be telling your, I don't know, your kids to start, I don't know, helping out with chores. And now whatever the case might be, like, you don't have to do all that alone. Make sure that you seek out resources, whatever those resources look like. Speak to your mom, speak to your dad, your uncle. Give your kids to your family members. Give them to your neighbor for a couple of hours. Ask your boss, like, take that day off if you're sick. Stop trying to, I used to be one of those people that I would always work when I'm sick. Like, why am I working when I am sick? Like, why? So take that sick day off. You'll be fine. The company will be fine. Everybody will be fine. You're much better when you're working, when you have your full upstairs here working, like when you're working from a place of like clarity. And that's the last thing that I want to say as well. Like, imagine for me, like, okay, I'm trying to calculate, okay, if I have to spend this much. I know people who are like calculate, for example, oh, I can't afford to get a cleaner for the house. But I'm so sorry, like, if your finances are relying on you not being able to get that one cleaner that 1 month, I'm so sorry, but those finances are already in the trenches. And it's not, if the cleaner is what, that £50 cleaner that 1 month, if it's that cleaner that month that you need it, is what is going to mean that your financial situation is going to end. Then the financial situation is already not great. But in that spirit of penny pinching, for me, I'm just like, I can see how I don't even have the time to make executive decisions about my life, to really be strategic in the way that I think, because I'm like literally like a little dog in the swimming pool, like just trying to stay afloat with all of the little things that I've got going on. But imagine like getting help to handle some of these things and taking these different things off of your plate. Imagine having that much clarity that you can actually focus. You can actually focus basically and like think things through and think about your life goals. Think about the things that you actually want to achieve. Think about how you want to show up for your family, for your relationships, for your husbands, your boyfriends, your sisters, your cousins, your friends. And so for me, that's what it is. It's like I have found that in the last few weeks, months, in the last year, I'm not going to lie, I have enjoyed. Like, I have actually, like last summer, I had an amazing summer. But this year was much more difficult because I have just like added on top of what I have, like so much more. And so I just recognized that like I cannot carry on like this, because my workload, I was expecting that something was going to give. Maybe my business would get easier, because for so many different reasons, which I can talk about in a different video, my business was really easy last year. But that is just not happening. So yeah, I'm just happy to be able to get to a point where I can honestly be like, okay, I'm getting help. The help is costing me, but it's okay. At least I am not the suffering, right? It's not costing me my sanity, my sleep. I was making so many mistakes because I was just really struggling. Literally every single day when I delayed getting help, it was almost like I don't want to say punishments, but I got a reminder about how I'm not doing well. Like, I'm not doing this by myself, from like down to like falling sick. Even literally as of today, as I'm making this video, something that I was meant to do yesterday, and I was so sick I couldn't do it. I literally started like it's like constantly every week I have at least 1 or 2 different things with my business: guest check-in, key codes, missing payments, not even remembering to chase payments from different people because I am doing it all by myself. So yes, this is a reminder to me, but I hope that it also acts as a reminder to you as well. Look at your life and look at the areas where you are genuinely struggling and you know that you're carrying more than you have capacity for. Remember this, Vaseline, you can only put so much, you can only do so much. You need to sleep for 8, 10, 6 hours, however many hours you say of sleep that you need to sleep for. I know that people say sleep is for the weak. I do not operate on a sleep is for the weak. I have tried to do that, and it's like the amount of things that I have juggling during the day. Sleep and resting is the only time, or sleeping is the only time when I get to guarantee rest, so I do not play with my sleep. But just make sure that you're looking after yourself. You're not going beyond the capacity that you have. As I'm making this video, I'm talking about the things I have been missing because I haven't been getting help and like being strategic about just getting help in my business. For example, most importantly, I have remembered something else I have missed this week simply because I just have been managing it all by myself. So yes, a PSA from me to you: enjoy, chop life, get help, right? And you don't have to suffer alone. All right, have a lovely week. It's a Monday today. I'm going to post this out today. But wherever you are, whatever day, year, time, moment you're watching this, I hope you have a lovely week. And yeah, see you somewhere in the space sometime soon. Bye-bye. I don't know if you can hear the flu in my voice. The amount of times I have done a YouTube video sick. May God help us. Amen.